So creating, deleting, and renaming worksheets, freezing panes for better navigation, basic data entry and formatting, basic formatting, autofill and flash fill for quick data entry and basic operators. So I just hope we have enough time to go through all of this today. All right, so the first thing we're looking at is introduction to Microsoft Excel interface. I'm just going to go to a new sheet right here. So for starters, this what we are looking at right now is an Excel workbook. Okay. And then when you're looking at an Excel workbook, the first thing you notice at the top here is a layout. You can see there are different tabs, or should we call them buttons, right? With icons up here. This is an Excel layout. And then inside the Excel layout, you have tabs at the top where you have file, home, insert, draw, page, layout, formulas, data, review, automate, developer help. All of these options up here are called what? Are called tabs. And then inside all of these tabs now, if you click a tab, for example, insert, what pops up under the tab is called what? A ribbon. Okay. So if you click draw, or you click page layouts, or you click formulas, what pops up here at tab? So you have the insert function, ribbon. And then inside the ribbon now, you now have groups. Okay, so for example, if you click on insert, let's use home for example. Each of these ribbons have groups. You can see there are thin bars that divide each of these ribbons. So inside all of these ribbons here, you have groups, and then there are tiny drop-down buttons here. If you click it, it opens up a larger layout of your group. So for example, the alignment group here, if I click it, opens up another layout completely with more functions or more buttons for us to use. Okay, so let me go back and explain that again. I don't know if anyone is following. So when you open an Excel workbook, right, all of this here is called what? The worksheet. Here, everything here is called a worksheet. Now, at the top of the worksheet, you have a layout, and at the top of the layout, you have what? Tabs. Sorry, you have what? Tabs, and inside all of these tabs are what? Ribbons. When you click it, the ribbon appears, and inside these ribbons, you have groups, and groups are divided by what? Thin bars. Okay, and then inside these groups, you have a launch button. But you have what? A launch button. Okay. So for example, we want to look at alignment. You click here, a launch button pops up. You click on the launch button under the number group. You can see that another layout, another tab rather opens here for you to see what format cells. Okay. So let's move on to the next thing now. Please, I just need a thumbs up to know that you're following. I just need to be sure I'm not talking to myself. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. So the next thing we are going to be looking at now is navigating the work, navigating the worksheets and the workbook. All right. So let's click complete for that. That's been, I think, 7 minutes. All right. So the next thing we are now going to look at is navigating worksheets and workbooks. So what do we mean by navigating worksheets and workbooks? It's simply just being able to use this interface. All right. Being able to manipulate and use this interface. So if for example you, let's say you want to enter data and say let's say id, let's call this item, let's call this unsold, right? And then maybe you want to call this one, call this two, call this two, call this four. This can be laptop, let's on right. What you are doing here is data entry. Say 1, 2, 3, 4. All we are doing here is what is data entry. And so the process of being able to enter data on a particular spreadsheet, you know, being able to format it, for example, is what we can describe as navigating the worksheets. All right. And then if you're now able to come here and save, say you want to save on your desktop, for example, you just come in here and save it, right? That's you navigating or manipulating your workbook. Like now we just saved that workbook, okay? And then saving that workbook, you now come back to this worksheet here. So we now come back to the worksheet here, look at where we stopped. So first of all, we need to understand what the worksheet is, or the functions and the limitations of the worksheets. I believe in Excel we have, so where we have the cursor up here is a column. All right, so we have A coming all the way downwards. A1, A1, A2, A3. We have highlighted that up there is called a column. So a column uh, goes from up to down, right? That's diagonally. And then if I now put the cursor where we have one, it now goes from A to the right. That's horizontal. That's called a row, right? Just a minute, please. So that's called a row. And in Excel, that's called a row. And in Excel, we have over 1 million rows, and I think over 16,000 columns. That's why in some cases Excel can be used as a database. You know, aside from capturing data, aside from visualizations and analysis, Excel can also be used for data collection and for data storage, because all of these spreadsheets are more than enough to capture data. And then inside all of these spreadsheets, or inside the workbook rather, you can now open like multiple sheets, right, in your workbook, for more instances of capturing data or storing data. So like I said, Excel has enough storage for you to capture data. So you have over 1 million rows. If you come all the way down here, let's do Control Shift and down. Sorry. Yeah, you can see where it brings us here. That is 1,048,576. All right, so that's over 1 million rows, and then the columns as well. Let's take it to the end. Actually, we can't see the amount, but if we were to enter data and then count by each single cell, you will see that that is over 16,000. All right, so that's 1 million rows and 16,000 columns. So that is enough for you to enter data. So the next thing I want to look at is how to move between cells, rows, and columns. Okay, I think we've even done that in the process of explaining. So if you want to move, for example, into, mind you, I think I forgot to mention this. So where you can see the mouse up here. So this is called a name box. All right. The name box helps us to identify the name of the cell. So where you now have the cursor, or where you have this cell highlighted, if you come up here, you can see the name of that cell. It is cell B1. All right, so this is important for us to understand, because when you're navigating or you're moving in between cells in your spreadsheet, especially when you're writing formulas, you need to know what cell to reference. And so this name box here can help you to identify the particular cell where your cursor is, or which cell is highlighted for you to reference in your formula. All right. So in this case now, a cursor is or the cell highlighted, excuse me, is cell B1. If you now use the arrow button, so you move to the right, we are now in cell C1, and that is called amount sold. If you now come down to the first amount sold, that is what cell C2. Okay, and if you want to say you want to, I know, for example, maybe you had data that came all the way down to maybe A37, or maybe a 1 million, for example, sell a 1 million, yes. And then you just have to click control and down, and it takes you to where your data is. In this case, you're at the very bottom, because obviously that is a shortcut. If you want to use the arrow button, it will take you forever. You can see how long it takes. You have like over a million cells going downwards. So that's long. So if you now want to get to the bottom of where you have data, what do? You use what? Control and the arrow button. It takes you to where you have data quickly. That's the end of where your data stops. Okay. I hope that's clear. I hope that's clear, please. I need a feedback from the class. Right. So what's the next thing you're going to look at here? Please, whose name is Sapa? I'm seeing Sapa in the group here. Anyways, the next thing we are looking at here is so we've been able to quickly cover navigating worksheets and workbooks, understanding the worksheets and workbooks. Like I said, I hope it's a clear. Okay, someone dropped a message here. Yes. So to get to the end of the row, okay, let me use our course outline, for example, like our first table here, right? If I have, like I've highlighted, this is cell B2, looking at the name box, cell B2. Now, if I were to, I want to go to the end of this particular table, and that is, let me highlight it, that's cell B11, right? Assuming this was much longer, it would take you forever to like use the arrow button, come down, okay? But one easy way to do it is to hold your control button, right? And then press the arrow button. In this case, I want to go down. So I press control and I tap down. You can see that it quickly brings me down to where we have basic operators. Let me do that here again. Let me just bring this all the way down. Okay, good. All right, perfect. So if you want to come down from say 1 to, what does it end now? Yeah, 259, right? If I hold the arrow button, like the one that goes downwards, and see it's actually moving quick. But assuming you have data like entries, like over a million entries, that's long. What you just have to do is to get to the bottom of it, right? It's just to hold your control button and press down. So it's easy for you to get to the end of that row. I hope that's clear. Same thing if you wanted to move to the right or to the left, for example, assuming you had data that just goes all the way like this, you know. Can you go through how you wrote the numbers? Yes, we are getting there. We are getting there. We are getting there. So that is for uh number 8. Sorry, number 9. Auto fill and flash fill. So we are going to get there. All right. So let's take it one step at a time. I'm actually rushing. My bad, apologies. So creating, deleting, and renaming worksheets. Okay, good. So in this case, uh, let me just do this again. So we want to create or delete the worksheets. Actually, very, very easy. What we did here, just deleted one. So I could, maybe I wanted to replicate this data now, for example, and across different worksheets. So instead of opening, just come down here at the bottom of your spreadsheets or your worksheets, right? You have this plus sign. And if you put your cursor on that plus sign, what you see is new sheets. So if you simply click on that plus sign, a new sheet has been created. Easy peasy. And then you can now rename it to whatever you want. You could call this, say, class 5. All right, press enter. If you come in here and say advanced Excel, all right, you press enter. That's very easy to create and rename. Okay, so and if you want to delete it, you just come here, right click on where you have that name tab, and then you now see options like insert, delete, rename, move or copy, view code, protect sheets, tab color. This is for formatting. You can actually give it, maybe if you use red for example, maybe in cases where you have multiple sheets, worksheets in a workbook, and you want to easily identify your worksheets by their tabs, you could color code them so that it's easy for you to identify them. So if I come here and I click here and I come to tab or color and I click green, for example, you can see that this class 5 is now green and advanced Excel is now what? Red. So that makes it easy for us to identify our worksheets, especially in cases where we have multiple worksheets. All right, multiple worksheets created in a workbook. So this is just an example. So if you're working with data that, let's say for example in your workbook you have like over 100 worksheets, you can rename them and you can color code them. So it makes it easy for you to identify. You can also hide it, right? You can just click hide and it's hidden. Maybe in cases where you have formulas you do not want someone to touch or tamper with, right? You can hide it. And I think in maybe in subsequent classes you can show you how to lock your worksheets. I don't even think that's part of our this thing for now. So yeah, then you can hide, right? You can come here. I think what we closed was class 5, right? You click you click that and boom, it comes up here. So that is one way to manipulate your spreadsheets. I hope that's clear to you. Okay, so now we want to look at someone asked a question. Can you go through how you wrote the numbers? Okay, very good. So let's start again. Maybe he did not join the class from the beginning. Okay, so like I said, we just created dummy data. We had an ID, column header, item, and amount. So you just come here, click on the cell where you want to make your entry, right? And then you could give this ID 1, 2, 3. But you see, that is a manual method of entry. If, for example, you want to make entry for, say, 100 clients, right? How do we do that? You simply come in here and drag down quickly instead of typing in manually. You can just drag it down. Let's stop at say 150. Once you drag it down, you can see that Excel replicates the first entry you made from the top down to where your cursor has stopped. And so in this case, we do not want 11111. What I'm explaining now is flash fill or autofill. What we want now is Excel to replicate the corresponding numbers for each cell after one, all right, up onto 150. So what do? You just come down where you have this little green button here. If you click on it, for example, you have copy cells, they have fill series, fill formatting only, flash, sorry, fill without formatting, flash fill. If you click on fill series, for example, you can see what happens. You can see that it automatically enters that data for us by changing it to what it's supposed to be. Okay, you can actually click Control Z to undo, right? Maybe you drag it down again and then say, okay, what does flash fill do? You click on flash fill, so you look at all the data next to your selection and did not see a pattern to keep filling for you. So that means we have not entered enough data for that to work. So in most cases, you need to enter data, multiple data sets to go down for the flash for that particular flash fill option to work. However, in this case, you just want to use the fill series, and automatically it's populated data for us all the way down to 30. All right, so let's make another entry here. That item, we just call this a Dell laptop. Nothing is necessary for now, anyways. But the essence of this table was just to help us understand how to uh, use or manipulate or navigate our worksheets, right? And how to create and delete or rename worksheets. So the next thing you want to do is to freeze pens for better navigation. All right. So, so before we do that, let's quickly enter more data here now so we can use this for example. Okay. Say one, two. Let's just quickly enter random data here. Let's come all the way down here. Let's say this is HP. Let's call this Apple. Right. Let's call this Lenovo. Let's call this what other brand do we have there? Uh, Asus. Is it Asus or Asus? I think it's Asus. Okay. Okay. So the essence of thank you very much, Asus. Yeah. So the essence of freezing pens. Let me even explain it before we go ahead. Essence of freezing pens is simple. If, for example, we have data like multiple data that goes all the way down to say 1 million or something. You see, once you start scrolling downwards, what you notice is that your header disappears, and so it becomes a little difficult for you to tell maybe what column you're working with or what cell you're working with. All right. So in this case, if you want to freeze the top so that as you're scrolling, you know, the column header does not disappear, you simply come to view, right? After you've clicked, let's start that again. Sorry. So to freeze your headers, you highlight the row, the top row, for example, if that's the row you want to freeze. After highlighting it, you come to the view tab, click on the view tab. And once you click on the view tab, you see under this ribbon here, you have freeze pens. And you can see freeze top row, freeze first column, freeze pens. Now the freeze pens option here freezes both the top row and the first column here. All right, so let's try that out. You click on this. Actually, it highlighted a greater portion of the workbook, but let's try it out. You move, you notice that it freezed the first 18 columns. So if you keep scrolling, you see that from 19 downwards is moving, right? But this section here is not moving, it's not responding. If you move your cursor, you can see that up from A to N and from 1 to 18 is frozen. All right. Now you can come in here and unfreeze pens. Like in this instance, we wanted to freeze just the first. So once you highlight that, you come in here, you click freeze top row, and if you scroll, you can see that your what's it called now? Column header is frozen. All right. I think I can unhide and yeah, let's use this one. All right, sorry guys, I just had to do. So we need something that you can use. Okay, so in this case, we have computer cells, right? We have color, we have status, we have price, we have costs. Okay, and what we want to do here is we want to format this data table. I think we looked at creating this, but let's carry out a practical example. We also entered data. We also looked at how to enter data. All right. Okay. So let's go back. We want to carry out a practical example of how to format a table and then freeze in a case where we have multiple data sets. So what do we do here? The first step you want to take, if like in my own case, because there are different ways to do this depending on what you want to do and how you want to do it. We have our column headers, right? This is for computer sales data. And so in this case, we have color, we have status, we have price, we have cost. And then under color, we have different colors that have been sold, the conditions of the laptops, and their prices. So what I like to do in my own case is to highlight that first column header, right? Then when I come to the home tab, looking at this layout here, looking at this group rather, if I click here, maybe I like using something like blue, yeah, and I want my fonts to be bigger. So I come in here and I click this increase font size button here. You can see that it increases the header for you. And then in some cases, I like to add a table or layout rather to my table or borders. Sorry. If I come in here and I want all borders, I click, you can see that automatically the highlighted portion of my spreadsheet suddenly has borders. So it's clear for me to see. In cases you might want to uh, demarcate your header, you make it maybe more obvious, right? Or conspicuous, if that's the word. You can just come in here and click thick outside borders. So you can see that it highlights the column headers and makes it more visible compared to the rest of the table so that it's clearer to see that okay, that is the column header. All right, so that's really easy. Maybe in cases where you want to you might want to, and I don't think that's necessary, maybe highlighting the rest of the table, but just for the case of simplicity you can leave it this way. All right, so the next thing you now want to do is uh freeze maybe the header. You come in here, you come to view, and then you just click free stop row. So as you're scrolling all the way downwards, you can see that the column header remains. All right, it's not going anywhere. I think that should be all for freeze first column. So in this case, yeah, if you had data that goes all the way from A to say AD, let's try something out here. Let's see. All right. Okay, very good. So you have data that goes all the way down here, and say you want to keep scrolling. You can see that the first column here is static, right? So as you're scrolling to the right or to the left, it doesn't change. That's assuming maybe that is sort of a header as well, because you could it's depending on if you have wide or long data. You could have, excuse me, you could have headers as rows, and you could have headers as columns as well. So depending on how your data is arranged. Let's assume in this case you're looking at um, headers as rows, and then you decide to freeze your rows. You can see that the moment you're swiping to the left or to the right rather, that first column is static. All right, it is immobile. So that is how you freeze columns. And when you want to unfreeze, just come in here while it is highlighted, right? Come in here and click on freeze pens. And you can see that the moment you've done that, everything is fine. It is now dynamic. You can now scroll back and forth as you please. All right. So the next thing we want to look at here, so we've been able to carry out basic data entry and formatting. We've been able to, okay, so we've used borders, we've used colors for the cells. Fonts, I don't think that's really necessary, fonts and colors, but yeah, let's just do it just because That's part of the outline. So maybe in this case, you want to change uh, the fonts of your headers, for example. So what do? You highlight the portion that you want to change. In this case, I want to change everything at the top. So after highlighting it, you come to where you have the home tab, right? And then you click on the home tab, and then you now have under this group, the fonts group, right? You have under the font group here, you have different options, right? So you could choose, maybe in this case, I want to use what's this called? Pharmacist MT Pro. Now let me take something simple, right? Let's make it, yeah, Arial, for example. And then I want to change the font color to red. That's ugly. That's ugly. Well, I think this shade is better. Yeah. So you can see that you can easily change and manipulate your data, format it however you want, all right, as you please. Maybe like in my own case, I like to highlight my data so that once I open my table, I can easily identify what I'm looking for. So combining the formatting options for your spreadsheets is how you can uh, rename each sheet and color code each sheet. It makes it easy for you to navigate Excel. It makes it easy for you to use Excel. All right. So I think we've been able to cover our basic formatting, font colors, and borders. Okay, that's pretty fast. And we've also been able to look at auto fill and flash fill for quick data entry. So we are about to enter the last bit, which is the basic operators. So before we begin the basic operators, because that too is not going to take long, do we have any questions? Do we have any concerns? Anybody have anything they want to contribute? Okay, so Sapa says a quick recap. Sapa, if you don't mind me asking, like, why this name? It's a very interesting name. Anyways, no gaps. Oh, na gaps. Oh my guy. Yeah, yeah, bro. Okay. So, interesting. So, Mr. Sapa says we should do a quick recap before we go into basic operators. All right. So let's start from the top again. I think Sapa did not join us on time. So like I said, what we are looking at now, the whole of this, right, is a worksheet from the top to the bottom, including all of these things you see here. This is a worksheet because this is what you use to work in your spreadsheets. Now, the white portions that I'm highlighting, all of these white portions here are spreadsheets. Okay. And now inside your worksheets, what you have at the top here is a layout. And for each layout, you have tabs, right? You have the file tab, you have the home tab, insert, draw, page layouts, and all that, right? And inside each of these tabs, you have what? Ribbons, all right? So I click on this tab, what appears here is a ribbon. And inside each of these ribbons are groups. And these groups are divided by thin borders. So if you notice, after clicking the insert tab and then the whole insert ribbon comes out, you now have groups here, all right? Different functions that are grouped and divided by thin borders, all right? So you have the tables group, we have the illustrations group, we have the charts group, we have the tours group, we have the sparklines group, we have the filters group, the links, the comments, what have you, all right? So now, the next thing that you want to identify in each group, you can see this tiny launch pad here. You click on it, right, for the font group. It now opens another layout with multiple functions. So all of these cannot be replicated or cannot be visualized at this top here because you don't have enough space. So the launchpad now opens a different dimension to the functions of that group. Okay. So in this case, we clicked on the font launchpad and then you now have number, alignment, font. So there are different things you can do here. All right. But now you want to format your spreadsheet here and manipulate it as much as you like. Do different things, change the pattern, change the style, your different format types, alignment of your data, there are different things we want to do here. I think we can touch that maybe in intermediate or advanced. Actually, this ones are pretty basic stuff. But for the sake of this class, we're not going into that. Okay. So we've looked at an introduction to the Microsoft Excel interface quickly, and then navigating worksheets and workbook. So I'm going to explain navigating worksheets and then understanding this. I think these two are really similar. All right, so we're just going to explain it at the same time. So just navigating, I think we've really actually explained it. So navigating it is pretty much, understanding what to do here. All right, I wanted to maybe bring out alignment. Or maybe in this case, this is uh what's it called now? This is price. I want to insert a new column in between this, right? Maybe I don't know what I would like to show here. You could show price, you could show costs, you could show maybe units sold here. This is still part of navigating and manipulating your sheets. We come in here and anyway, that's actually let me hold on that because that's the last bit, our operators. So in this case, what we created this column for right now was to insert formulas or user operators to write formulas. But before that, just pretty basic stuff, and then maybe you want to create a worksheet, this new sheet, and then you can now name it Sapa sheet, right? For example, and then you can now start making your entries and all of that, right? So, someone hand is up. Please go ahead and speak. Mute your mic and speak. Yes, you can unmute your mic and speak. You can see your hand is up. Is it a mistake? I guess the person is not ready to speak. All right, so let's quickly so if you want to delete that sheet, you just bring your cursor down here, right click on it, and then you can see delete. Click, it goes, and once you hope you know that's very you had formulas in there, but you had important information in there. Be careful before you delete it because once you've deleted a sheet in your workbook, it's gone forever. You cannot recover it. All right. So yeah, I think we also looked at highlighting or color coding worksheets. So for example, after creating this Sapa sheet, I right click it and I want to give it a color. I can come in here and click blue. All right. So you can see that I've been able to color code uh let's give this one a color as well. I've been able to color code my sheets. So it's easy for me to identify. If I look down here, I can see that my computer cells is yellow. So it's easy for me to identify. And advanced Excel is red, class 5 is green, Tapa sheet is blue. All right, this is actually very useful in cases where you have multiple uh worksheets in a workbook. All right, so it makes it easy for you to identify because trust me, I've been there before. I know how it feels to have multiple worksheets, especially if all of them have the same color. It can get confusing, it can get clumsy. But if you're able to highlight it like this, it makes it easy for you to identify what you're looking for or what you're working with. And in this case, you might just want to rename it, or I just want to uh delete it. In some cases, you can even copy. So if, for example, this one, I want to replicate something like this so I can work with, like, come here, click move or copy, and then I say, I want you to create a copy for sheet one and click OK. And easily you can see that Excel has replicated that worksheet for me quickly. So, and it's also named it because you cannot have duplicate names in here. So it's named this one sheet one bracket two. All right. So that's yeah. So I have 14 minutes left. So I need to quickly run down on the basic operators. All right. So let's move this. Okay. So let's say unit so. So what we are looking at now is what's it called now? Our basic operators. All right. So for basic operators, what do we mean by basic operators in Excel? Basic operators are symbols. Okay. And in this case, what do we have? We have a plus sign. All right. We have a minus sign. We have the division sign. We have what's it called? Equals to. We have equals. Yeah. I think I think asterisk or ampersand is another basic operator. But we are not going to use this in this case. All right. So what we are looking at here uh, is just the use of our basic operator. So in this case, maybe we want to find out what the unit so is. So if, for example, we have let's see, let's create a column for units. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's fine, all right. You can just copy this. Let's see here. Let's see here. Then you can just drag this one down real quick. All right, perfect. So now I want to see how many units we have sold. So it's really basically gone over this before. So I know for people who have joined the class before, this is basic stuff for you. And by the way, I had a look at the assignments and you guys did very well. I'm actually very proud of the fact that many people were able to create beautiful charts in the assignments. Although we have not given feedback yet, but I love that, and we are still going to give you feedback. Please be patient. So well done, guys. Well done. I'm really impressed with what I saw. I'm really, really impressed. I like that. We have really fast learners amongst us. All right, good. So, you want to calculate unit sold. I think for unit sold is going to be uh price times units, right? So what do we do here? Equal sign, and then you highlight uh the unit that has been sold, you multiply that by price. Okay, press enter. And you can see that for a black new laptop sold 1 unit and it generated 800 naira dollars. All right. So you can simply double click on that and then it drags down automatically. You will probably have to come in here and, excuse me, drag it down manually. That's long. All right. So what you just do is to for Excel to understand that, excuse me, you want it to, and boom, it does that for you. Okay. And for us to format this table so that you can tell that okay, we're looking at currency. Since that column is already highlighted, you can just the currency of choice. In this case, you're using dollars. You can also come in here and change it to whatever you want. Okay, there are different options here. You have Spanish, I don't know, that's Spanish dollars. I don't even know. Chinese yen, right? We have naira here. I don't know why they decided to add a do naira, full naira, thousand naira, but in this case, let's go with thousand naira, right? And then click OK, and you can see that everything appears in naira. And then you also know point. This is part of formatting your data table. I think I forgot to mention this. So if you highlight this column, for example, decimal here, it's not working. All right. So you come in here and you delete decimal. I can see the actual value 800 naira, 1,400, 2,700. So you can see using two operators here, the equal sign multiplication that shows us what our units sold. So maybe in another case, you want to see, let's, how do we use the addition sign? In what context can we use it now? Someone's hand is up again. Yeah, please go ahead and speak. Chika, your hand is up.
Can you hear me, Toyo?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes,
So I just want to know what you did when you
we can
tried
hear
to
you, Chika.
change it. Yeah, when you tried to change it to the from pounds or dollars to naira, there were
Mm,
there were cells that highlighted hash keys instead of the numbers. What did you do exactly to change them to numbers?
okay, to change it to numbers. Sorry, I don't understand your question. Can you ask again?
Okay, so when you got the unit sold, you know, and got
Yeah,
the
yeah.
prices down, you change the currency from dollar to naira, and at some point,
Yeah.
some of the cells didn't show the
Mm.
numbers, the actual prices.
Oh,
It just showed it
okay.
just showed hash keys like that. So what did
Yes,
you do
yes.
to change them to them? Yeah.
Okay. Thank Thank you. Very good question. So what happened there was that I think in Excel, let me just, if you drag this column down here, you can see that those hash keys have popped up again. So what happens is that if the numbers or the entries in a particular cell are longer than the range, like maybe the margin, yes, that's the word. So Excel shows you that these hash keys actually mean there are entries in that cell. But because the margin was too slim, it cannot show everything. So you just come in here and double click on this portion at the top here. You double click on it. Excel opens up the margin, opens up that cell, right? Makes it wider so that you can now see everything.
I see. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. That's it. So that
Thank you so
that
much.
that's you're very welcome. Thank you for that question. I should have actually pointed that out. So so we now have our what unit sold. Maybe I don't know what if this would make any sense. Let's just say to use our addition sign because I'm really thinking of something, an example that could use our plus operator to write a formula here. Maybe we could say how do we calculate unit sold? Okay, so unit sold is actually very easy. You come in here, you can see we use two operators here, equal and multiplication. Unit sold is simply units by price. All right. So let's do that again. You write your equal sign. What's that? So you write your equal sign, right? And then once you write your equal sign, you highlight the cell where you have the numbers that you want to calculate. All right. In this case, it's units. You now highlight units. You write your what multiplication sign. Yeah. And then the second thing you now want to use is your price. Because like we said, units by price. Once you click enter, automatically it shows what the price. And if you double click it in a case where maybe these ones were not entered already, Excel automatically drags down that formula for you. All right. Pending, you can see that if we highlight this second cell here, it brings down the formula to highlight corresponding columns for the units column and the price column. All right. I hope that explains how to calculate units sold. Chika's hand is up again. Please go ahead. You have about 6 minutes left. Shoot. Okay, I think that was a mistake. All right, let's proceed. So to use the multiplication sign, I'm not really been able to come up with a clear example in this case. But let's just say we want to calculate what is it called now? Hmm. Let's just call it maybe units for discounts. All right. It's just made up. I don't know if it makes any sense. But in this case, you just want to maybe use our multiplication. Sorry, what's it called now? So let's say we have three here, we have five, we have this, we have that, we have that. All right. So let's just quickly drag this down. All right. So just to show us how to use the multiplication sign, we can use equals to, right? And say this, all right, plus that. Keyboard is a little funny, right? Guys, bear with me. Yeah, a little tricky. So this plus this, then we can now see this is just how to use our basic operators. It's nothing complex. So let's just say this is total it's available. Just have to make that up so that we can use that example. Okay, so like you said, equal sign, and then you highlight the cells that you want to add together. All right, once you click enter, the formula gives you a response. Then you double click it, and then Excel just drags down the formula across corresponding cells, and you have your responses. So that is how to use the multiplication operator rather, and that's how to use your addition operator. And you can see that each time you want to write a formula in Excel, you must use the equal sign. That is your equal. That's writing formulas. It's a must. If you write your formulas without that, it's not going to work. Excel is just going to assume that you're just making a basic or a normal entry. So it is important for you to understand that. All right. And I think the last one that we have not used is the division sign. Can someone quickly give us an example on how to use the division sign? Or what context you can use it? 3 minutes left, so one can just come up with something. One that nobody is talking. I wish I'm not talking to myself all this while. Anyways, so to round up the class, right? Um, let's say we want to let me go back to one of our old examples real quick. Let me see if I can find something to use. So we did revenue by profits. Okay, we could use this. So let's say we want to do okay. To use our division sign, just 2 minutes left. Maybe cost divided by price to see what the revenue margin would be. So yeah, so in this case, we used our division sign, really easy, equals to like we did before, highlighted the cell that you want to divide. And you can see that for each of these products, right, by this cost, looking at the cost by price, the revenue margin, this is what we will get. So if we sell this product that costs it's what 600 naira at a price of 800, for example. These numbers are just dummy data, they're not actually correct, they don't make sense. Your revenue margin is going to be 75%, 71%. This is just for context, just showing you how to use the division sign or the division operator. So that brings us to the end of today's class. So we've been able to look at pretty much everything that was in our course outline. Um, or understanding the Excel interface and navigating it, creating, deleting new worksheets, moving between cells and rows, seeing how to freeze pens, basic data entry, um, formatting, and autofill, and then use of our basic operator, that's the plus, minus, multiplication, division, and equals. So that brings us to the end of our class today. Thank you very much for joining, guys, and I hope you've learned a lot. And for the newcomers, I hope you're able to follow up. And then, the guys that have been here before, well done, and thank you for joining again. See you next class. And if you have any concerns, please feel free to reach out to us on the group chats, ask any questions. Anyone will be available to respond to you. Thank you, guys, and have a good night. Bye.